Hey, everybody. Welcome to Jets Talk Now. I'm Paul Fiore. Please click like and subscribe. We are approaching 1,000 subscribers, so I am very appreciative of all of you who have been tuning in to my pod and hopefully enjoying the content. Today, it's Jets-related news, but not directly Jets, in that I thought it would be good to get on and just talk about the Robert Saleh discourse that's kind of permeating over the X, timeline, and a lot of it is interesting and very fascinating to me. The revisionist history of Robert Saleh and his tenure as a head coach. It started last night, right? So during the national championship game, or late towards the end of the championship game, it was announced that Saleh was going to become the Titans head coach. I view that as a bad hire personally. It may turn out to not be a bad hire. I think time will tell on that. But I just put it out there, and we're nothing if not people with opinions in life. My opinion is it's a bad hire and that bad organizations do bad things. The Tennessee Titans are a bad organization up to this point. If you look at what's gone on since they got rid of Mike Vrabel, you can't say they are a good organization. They fired Mike Vrabel, who was a consistent winning head coach for them. They've gone through 2 head coaches since. Their ownership has not been solid, and so they go and get the number 1 draft pick last year. They get Cam Ward. They fire their head coach during the season, and now they replace him with a guy that was a failed head coach in New York. Now, if you want to say that he was failed because of the Jets, it is a disingenuous argument. Were the Jets a part of his failure? 1,000%. The New York Jets, as long as they are owned by Woody Johnson, as long as they continue to bring in people who are first-time head coaches, who don't have, high-end support staff with great DC offensive coordinator, QB coaches, or great general manager, will continue to be facing an uphill battle as to become a successful coach. That's the reality of what happens when you come to the Jets. It's why for years now I have said over and over and over again, I want them to hire an experienced head coach who's been there, done that before, because it helps mitigate the risk of Woody Johnson and everything that comes with the New York Jets. Okay. So I posted last night that it was a bad organizations continue to do bad things, and related it to Robert Saleh, who was a failed head coach, now becoming the Tennessee Titans head coach. And that elicited a ton of response. And I don't believe most of it is from Jets fans. I believe most of it is from the outside world looking in. And this just goes to show you how the Jets are looked upon within the NFL and the circle of fans within the industry, within the NFL world. We are a laughing stock, and we are blamed for everything that, let's say Woody Johnson and the Jets more broadly are blamed for everyone's failure. Although if we talk about Aaron Rodgers, that was his fault and not the Jets organization. So it's interesting how that's kind of viewed. But in the lens of Robert Saleh, the man has the best PR I have ever seen in all of the time that I've watched football. In 3 years and 5 games, he was 20-36 as the head coach of the New York Jets. To absolve him of that because you want to say the ownership is bad and that he didn't have a quarterback is to absolve him of all of his flaws as a head coach. He was terrible at the job. And I will say this as someone who supported the man in the first 2 years he was head coach with New York. Year 1, he took over a terrible roster. Adam Gase was bad. He took over a bad organization. I didn't expect much. They won 4 games. Okay. They had a good draft. They wound up winning 7 games in year 2, but we all saw Zach Wilson was not good. So I looked at it and said, all right, he won 7 games in year 2. We have to give him a 3rd season. Let's see what the plan is. And the plan was to bring in Aaron Rodgers. In year 3, Their genius plan was Aaron Rodgers and no one but Aaron Rodgers as the backup quarterback. And of course, he gets hurt, and they go back to Zach. Now, that's not Saleh's fault in ways that Zach sucked. But you can't sit here and be honest with your assessment and say he wasn't at fault, because if you're the head coach and your plan is to bring in a 38, soon to be 39-year-old quarterback and not have a backup plan, then that's your fault too. It's not just Joe Douglas's fault. It's not just Woody Johnson's fault. You should be making sure you have a competent backup. You have to. That's the job. You have to have a plan. And so Saleh turns to Zach Wilson, and of course the results are what you expected. But let's put that aside and just say, all right, well, they won 7 games again. Blame that on Joe Douglas if you'd like. I don't care. Are we forgetting everything that happened when he was the head coach? Are we forgetting how poor they were in their discipline as a team, the amount of penalties that happened under his watch? Are we forgetting how often the team came out looking completely unprepared and got gashed to start the games with that great defense that he gets credit for, but yet he didn't call the plays for? And now he's being sold as the guy that's going to be calling plays in Tennessee that's going to make it different. What's true and what's not? The 2 years they were considered a top 10 defense or even a top 5 defense, and Jeff Ulbrich was the defensive coordinator who called plays. At the time, we gave Saleh the credit for that. But now that he's no longer the head coach and he's going to become a head coach for Tennessee, we're going to say it's going to be different because he's going to call plays in Tennessee. That doesn't make any sense. It's just kind of weird. Do we forget about Hard Knocks? And all of a sudden he was this cursing, tough guy head coach during those episodes where everybody and their mother thought it was the most disingenuous depiction of who he is as a head coach? We forget about how buddy-buddy he was with the media, with Joe Beningo, where he's texting with him game plans and talking about the quarterback situation and being completely unprofessional. We're forgetting about that. I mean, I don't understand how we look at this guy's tenure as head coach and go, it's all Jets. Yeah, Woody Johnson's a bad owner. Yes, Woody Johnson meddled at the end of his tenure, but Saleh has to own his coaching record. Saleh has to own the decisions he made as the head coach of the team. They were bad. He was bad. His in-game decisions were terrible. Do we forget about that? Now, can he learn and be better? Yeah. If he gets a competent offensive coordinator, maybe things will look better. But nobody can sit here today and be honest in their views of the world and say, Cam Ward is my quarterback. I wanted Robert Saleh as my head coach. You cannot say that. You would want someone to come in who's going to develop the quarterback. And everyone's just assuming Mike McDaniel is going to be the OC, and maybe he is, but that's not a guarantee right now. He's interviewing for head coach jobs. I saw somebody say, well, Mike LaFleur. Why would Mike LaFleur want that job? He was the Jets OC. They fired him. I mean, again, could Saleh develop into being a good head coach? Yes, but he's not like some genius head coach that we let walk out the building because the Jets are terrible. The Jets are terrible. They make bad decisions, and Robert Saleh was a bad head coach. It's literally that simple. And now I'm hearing people talk about Todd Bowles like he was another one, like Todd Bowles is freaking Andy Reid. Todd Bowles went and failed as a head coach with the Jets. He failed with Sam Darnold. He left and became the DC in Tampa with Bruce Arians. He did a good job as a DC because guess what? He's a good DC. Arians leaves, retires. They hand the job to Bowles. He inherits a very, very good roster and has been a middling head coach since he took the job. What have they won? They've been a playoff team, except this year they weren't. But they haven't been great. Look at the weapons that he's had on that team. Does he get credit for that? Do the offensive coordinators that have come through there and have become head coach get that credit? Todd Bowles is an average head coach. He's okay. He's not one that got away for the Jets. I mean, we got to stop. It's embarrassing. Like, yes, they're a punching bag and they deserve it. But these guys aren't these amazing coaches. They're not. Saleh's defense got completely demolished this past week. I mean, they got crushed. It was embarrassing. So, like, listen, I have nothing against Robert Saleh. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he does a good job for them and learns from his mistakes as a head coach. But the revisionist history when it comes to the New York Jets is fascinating in general. The owner being who he is, until this team wins anything, will consistently be the laughing stock of the NFL. It's just the reality of the butt of the joke. And I guess we just have to live with that as fans. But, you know, as an objective observer and a fan of Robert Saleh when he came here, I will tell you that by the end of year 3, that man needed to lose his job. And the biggest mistake Woody made is he let him go into year 4, and then he fired him 5 games in. That was a disaster. And then not hiring Mike Vrabel after year 3 when he was sitting there waiting to get a job is a regret that he should have. Then he wound up having to compete with him, with New England for him. And what do? We hire another first-time defensive coordinator as a head coach, expecting different results. And I pray to God Aaron Glenn figures it out. But objectively, he was terrible last year. So if you want to compare Robert Saleh and Aaron Glenn as the bar, sure, Saleh was Vince Lombardi compared to Aaron Glenn. But on a scale of shit to shit, he's bad. So, I mean, we just got to stop with this. This is dumb. If Aaron Glenn fails at the end of this season in 2026 and the Jets go and get another defensive coordinator as a head coach, I don't know. I don't know if I can continue to do this as a fan. I really don't. I really don't. We need a sanity check. The media, fans of other teams. The Jets are owned by a buffoon who's done a terrible job. Part of that terrible job is making bad personnel decisions. He's hired bad head coaches. He's hired bad GMs. He hasn't invested in areas within the organization that he needs to. Jaime is still his president. He does not have a president of football operations that even knows what the hell he's doing. He hired the 33rd team to get Aaron Glenn, led by Mike Tannenbaum, who, fine on ESPN, what is he doing that is leading to head coach searches in the NFL? He's not. He actually admitted in an interview with the New York Post that they're focusing on analytics and data analytics now. So let's be honest. The Jets are a bad organization led by a buffoon who's done a bad job. You hope one day he has, I don't know, a moment of sanity and he brings in somebody that's going to actually restore this franchise to respectability and hire a head coach with experience who's been successful. The Giants just did it with Harbaugh. Somebody will do it with Mike Tomlin next year. If somebody's smart, they'll do that with McCarthy this year. Stefanski will do that for Atlanta. But we can separate that from the history that is the Jets head coaches who have been bad at the job. Saleh was bad at the job. No ill will to Saleh. He was bad at the job. Does anybody remember the toothpaste commercial that was going on during the absolute massacre that happened against the Miami Dolphins? Does anybody remember the blank stares into the abyss as the head coach when the team was a complete train wreck? Does anybody remember the stories in The Athletic about him confiscating cell phones in team meetings because he had lost the locker room's faith and trust and didn't know who was leaking things when he himself was leaking stuff? It's just, it's all too much. I'm sorry. You know, it's bad enough that we have to be fans of a team that has been bad as long as it has. It's another level when revisionist history points to these guys who leave the organization and now are supposedly these great hires elsewhere. It's just kind of silly. So, you know, if the media wants to carry the water of Robert Saleh, that's fine. As fans, you should not do the same. You shouldn't. He didn't do a good job. He got 3+ years here of under 500 football, which is nearly unprecedented. And dumbass Woody Johnson kept him on after year 3 instead of going and getting Mike Vrabel, only to go fire him 5 games into the season and put another incompetent person in the position in Jeff Ulbrich. Incompetence, incompetence, incompetence. It's the definition of everything that this organization has done for years now. And am I pissed off about it? Yeah, I'm frustrated. But that'll be the last I talk about Robert Saleh until we obviously face him next year and he goes and beats the shit out of us. And we're going to have to hear about, again, how the Jets let go of, you know, Newt Rockne. I can't. Anyway, everybody, I hope you have an awesome day. I'll get back to regular Jets content later in the week. We'll see. No news yet on defensive coordinator stuff. Still waiting to see. But I hope you all have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in.